Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
Okay, so you've sent us this excerpt from Kim Eisenberg's Scale is All You Need, Part 1. What is AGI anyway? And wow, the title alone has me hooked. Artificial General Intelligence. It feels like every other week there's a new headline about it.
It's definitely a hot topic.
It is, but what's really interesting is how AGI is fundamentally different from the AI we're used to hearing about.
hmm
Imagine, instead of AI that's great at one specific thing like playing chess or recommending movies,
Right.
we're talking about AI that can learn and adapt to any intellectual task that a human can.
Yeah, it's a pretty mind-blowing concept when you think about it. The AI we interact with today, whether it's voice assistant or a customer service chatbot, is impressive in its own right, but it's still very much what we call ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. It's specialized, often limited to a single task or domain.
So ANI is like that friend who's amazing at trivia night but can't boil water to save their life.
Exactly. AGI, on the other hand, would be like having a friend who's not only a trivia whiz, but can also write a symphony, design a skyscraper, and offer insightful life advice all before breakfast.
Now that's the kind of friend everyone wants. And this excerpt you sent actually dives into this distinction between different stages of AI, right?
Hmm.
We've got ANI, which we've touched on, then AGI, and even this somewhat sci-fi concept of ASI.
Yeah, it's true. The AI family tree is growing. And understanding these stages is key to grasping the whole AGI conversation. Eisenberg lays them out really clearly.
Yeah, it's like a progression, almost like levels in a video game. You've got to master one before you can unlock the next.
And each level represents a significant leap in capability. Take GPT-4, for example, which Eisenberg mentions. It's incredibly sophisticated. It can generate human-quality text, write different kinds of creative content, and even answer your questions in an informative way.
Yeah, GPT-4 definitely has people talking. So where does it fit into this AI family tree? Is it just a really advanced ANI, or are we seeing the early stages of AGI with something like GPT-4?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one that has the AI community buzzing. To really understand where GPT-4 falls, we need to dig a bit deeper into what makes AGI truly general. Eisenberg highlights some key characteristics in the excerpt you sent, and one that really stands out is multimodality.
Okay, let's unpack that multimodality. What does that even mean in the context of AI?
Think of it this way. Most AI today excels in one specific area. Image recognition, natural language processing, they're often siloed. AGI, with its multimodality, would be able to seamlessly integrate and process information from multiple sources: text, images, sounds, even sensory data.
So instead of just recognizing a cat in a photo, a multimodal AGI could listen to you describe a cat, understand a drawing of a cat, and even predict how a cat might behave in a given situation.
Precisely. It's about combining different modes of input to form a more complete understanding of the world, much like humans do. It's a crucial step towards AGI breaking free from narrow, task-specific applications and achieving a more generalized form of intelligence.
It's like the difference between knowing individual words in a language and actually understanding the nuances of grammar and context to have a real conversation. Multimodality is about connecting the dots, not just seeing the dots themselves.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond mimicry to genuine understanding, which is a crucial distinction when we talk about AGI.
This is already so fascinating, and we're just scratching the surface. Now, another key characteristic of AGI that Eisenberg brings up is this idea of self-learning. So it's not just about processing information, it's about learning from that information, adapting, and even improving its own understanding over time.
Absolutely, and this is where things get really interesting. See, ANI systems are typically trained on massive data sets, and they become incredibly good at what they do within the confines of that training data. But AGI, with self-learning, would have the ability to go beyond its initial programming.
So instead of just following instructions or patterns it's been fed, it could essentially start to think for itself.
In a way, yes. It could analyze its own processes, identify areas for improvement, and even seek out new information to expand its knowledge base, much like a human student would. It's this ability to learn and adapt independently that truly sets AGI apart from anything we've seen before.
This is where it feels like we're stepping into uncharted territory, both exciting and a little bit daunting. If AGI can essentially teach itself and evolve its own understanding, what does that mean for the future of, well, everything?
It's a question that sparks both incredible excitement and, as you said, a healthy dose of caution. And it leads us to the central debate that Eisenberg highlights in this excerpt. Can we get to AGI simply by scaling up current AI models?
Right, because we've seen how much progress has been made just by making these AI models bigger, feeding them more data, giving them more computational power. So is that all it takes? Is it just a matter of building a bigger engine for a faster car, so to speak?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one that has the AI community divided.
Okay, so we've got our AI family tree. We've got these key characteristics of AGI like multimodality and self-learning. And now we've got this debate about whether simply scaling up existing AI is enough to get us there. I'm hooked. Let's dive into this debate. Who's on what side and what are their arguments?
It is, yeah, it's a fascinating debate, high stakes. On one side, you've got the scaling camp. They believe that AGI is essentially an emergent property of complexity.
Yeah.
Their argument is, we've already seen these incredible leaps in AI capabilities just by making models larger and feeding them more data.
Right. It's like that old saying, if you throw enough processing power at a problem, it eventually becomes intelligent, right?
Exactly, and they point to examples like GPT-4 as evidence. Think about it. GPT-4 can generate different creative text formats, like poems, codes, scripts, musical pieces, email, letters, etc., and answer your questions in an informative way, even if they are open-ended, challenging, or strange. All of that from a model that's essentially a massively scaled-up version of earlier language models.
Yeah. So the scaling camp would say, just keep scaling up, keep feeding the machine, and AGI will naturally emerge.
That's the gist of it. Eisenberg mentions Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, as a proponent of this view. He's argued that the path to AGI might be less about radical new inventions and more about simply continuing to scale up existing deep learning techniques.
It's a compelling argument, especially when you consider the speed at which AI development is progressing. But of course, there's another side to this coin, right? Not everyone's convinced that scaling alone is the answer.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the other side of the debate. Those who believe that AGI requires fundamentally different architectures, approaches that go beyond simply making models bigger.
So it's not just about building a bigger engine, it's about designing a whole new kind of vehicle.
Exactly. They argue that simply scaling up existing models, even with massive amounts of data, won't lead to the kind of generalized intelligence we're talking about. They point out that while these models are great at pattern recognition and mimicking human language, they lack true understanding, reasoning, and the ability to learn and adapt to novel situations the way humans do.
Right? It's like the difference between a parrot that can flawlessly recite Shakespeare and a scholar who can actually grasp the nuances of the language, the historical context, and the deeper meaning behind the words.
A perfect analogy. And one of the leading voices in this camp is Yann LeCun, Meta's chief AI scientist. He's argued that while deep learning has gotten us far, it's still missing some crucial ingredients, and those ingredients might require a completely different approach to AI architecture.
So where does that leave us with something like GPT-4? It's clearly incredibly powerful, but is it just a very sophisticated parrot, so to speak? Or is it hinting at something more?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one that even the experts are grappling with. GPT-4 and similar large language models have undoubtedly blurred the lines, but most agree that they still fall short of true AGI. They might be able to generate human-quality text, but they don't yet possess the same level of understanding, reasoning, and generalization that we associate with general intelligence.
So if scaling alone might not be enough, and models like GPT-4, while impressive, aren't quite there yet, what's the missing piece? What could potentially bridge this gap and unlock true AGI?
Well, that's where things get really interesting because Eisenberg hints at something called Project Q toward the end of this excerpt, and it seems to be tackling the AGI challenge from a different angle.
Okay, Project Q. It sounds intriguing, even a little mysterious. What can you tell us about it?
Details are scarce, as you might expect with cutting-edge research. But from what we've gathered, Project Q seems to be exploring ways to enable AI to engage in what's called higher-order reasoning and independent planning.
Okay, so not just processing information or generating text, but actually thinking strategically and autonomously, like a human would.
Precisely. Think about how you'd approach a complex problem. You break it down into smaller steps, you anticipate challenges, you adapt your approach as needed, and you learn from your mistakes. That's higher-order reasoning and independent planning in action. And it's something we haven't seen AI do effectively yet.
But Project Q is suggesting that this might be possible, that AI could be taught, or could even teach itself, to think strategically and autonomously.
That seems to be the implication. And if they're successful, it would be a monumental leap forward in AI development. It would mean moving beyond AI that simply reacts to information and toward AI that can reason, plan, and even innovate on its own.
That's what I call a game changer. But it also raises a whole new set of questions, doesn't it? If we're talking about AI that can essentially think for itself, plan for itself, what are the implications? What does that mean for the future of, well, everything?
You're hitting on the crux of it. Because Project Q, if successful, wouldn't just be another step in AI development, it would be a paradigm shift. And like all paradigm shifts, it comes with a mix of incredible potential and, let's be honest, a dose of healthy uncertainty.
It's almost like we're talking about crossing a threshold, a point of no return. Once AI can truly think for itself, plan for itself, where do we fit in? It's exhilarating and a little bit terrifying at the same time.
It is. It's a potent mix of emotions for sure. And something that Eisenberg touches on towards the end of this excerpt. If we're on the cusp of AI that can learn and adapt and reason on a level we never thought possible, it's no longer just about building smarter machines.
It's about redefining what intelligence even means,
Yeah.
right? Are we approaching a future where the lines between human intelligence and artificial intelligence become, I don't know, increasingly blurry?
Precisely. And that blurring raises some pretty profound questions. For example, if an AI can design a building that's safer, more sustainable, and more aesthetically stunning than anything a human architect could conceive, does it matter that it might not experience the concept of beauty in the same way we do?
Or if an AI can develop a medical breakthrough that saves countless lives, does it need to grapple with the same ethical considerations that a human doctor or scientist would?
These aren't easy questions to answer. In fact, they might not even have simple yes or no answers.
Right.
But they are questions we need to be asking ourselves now because the future of intelligence, both artificial and human, hinges on how we choose to approach them.
Yeah, it's almost like this pursuit of AGI, this attempt to create something smarter than us. It's forcing us to confront what it means to be human in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Our strengths, our limitations, our values. It all comes into sharper focus when we imagine sharing the world with an intelligence that could surpass our own.
There's a certain poetic symmetry to that, isn't there? It highlights a crucial aspect of this journey towards AGI. It's not just a technological endeavor, it's a journey of self-discovery. By striving to create a new form of intelligence, we're being challenged to understand our own intelligence in ways we might never have considered before.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AGI, it feels less like we've arrived at a destination and more like we've embarked on a journey. A journey with more questions than answers, but questions that spark the imagination and invite us to ponder the future of intelligence itself.
And that's the beauty of a truly thought-provoking deep dive, isn't it? It leaves you with a sense of wonder, a thirst for further exploration, and perhaps even a new perspective on what it means to be human in an age of rapidly evolving intelligence.
Absolutely. So to our listener out there, we leave you with this. As we venture further into this uncharted territory of AGI, what possibilities excite you the most? What concerns keep you up at night? And what role do you envision humans playing in a future where intelligence, in all its forms, continues to evolve in ways we can only begin to imagine? Keep those questions close, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.